over just the very few things that are going on tonight. Just because I'm playing them, I figure we go over it. And there's actually some annoyingness to go over in New England. Uh, the first, well, we'll talk about that. If Bobby gets here, we'll get a little more into it. We could probably use a little bit of a deep dive here on a couple of these guys because I guess we'll just start with, you know what? Until Bobby gets here, I'm going to just at least start with I guess I'll start with the hockey. And then because when Bobby gets here, then I'll just go on and do the basketball. So just so you guys know what I am doing in hockey, coming off a really good night last night, actually. The main, as you might imagine, Edmonton on the back-to-back. Don't have too much interest in that. My main stacks that I'm going to be using in hockey tonight are actually Calgary and Pittsburgh. Those are the two, and Dallas. Those are the three. I have very, very little Edmonton tonight, and that kind of goes along with everything I usually do when it comes to sports gambling, or anything like that. So yeah, that's who we're rooting for tonight as far as my stuff goes on hockey. That would be Calgary, Pittsburgh, and Dallas. Again, just a couple of announcements. I faded all the variants, and I am going away for a few days. I'll do my best to get projections updated. I probably should be able to handle it. It's not that bad over the weekend. MMA projections will probably go up today. I already did the MMA DFS video, and I'm going to do the betting video probably later tonight. And with any luck, I'll be able to join Bobby live Sunday at 11. But if not, it'll just be because I'm on vacation. But the projections will certainly be up. The other thing is that I'm almost definitely not going to be able to deal with all the soccer stuff for the next couple of days. It just requires you to be a little bit more attentive at the computer, which I'm just not going to be able to accomplish. So I guess that brings us to tonight. There are three sports going tonight. One I talked about already. That was the hockey. Hey, there's Bobby. I dealt with the hockey already before you got here. This way, that was
awesome.
That's why I was kind of taken care of. What I want to talk about with you, hopefully you did a little more work than I did, because it was something that I wanted to look into, but I didn't. Was the backup running back situation for New England? There were three guys that were possibly in play as of a few hours ago. One was J.J. Taylor, the other was Strong, and the other was Harris. I thought, and we can get official news, but okay, so it is they. I don't know if Taylor was actually upgraded.
He's not on the team officially. He's just on the practice squad.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to possibly call him up, but we don't know, and we won't know for another half hour probably.
Okay, so we'll know within the next half hour or so probably. Okay, because look, those three guys, you should you have three backup running backs that are 200, and you probably should consider them in some way. The other way to deal with the lack of a second running back is to do something different, like just presume that more crap goes to tight ends and things like that, as opposed to that. Like, so maybe Jonnu Smith becomes more in play. Probably was already. And the only other thing I wanted to talk about is, let me block this guy, block user.
Yeah,
then we'll block on restream. Okay. And this has not been talked about too much, but listen, everything that you run, whether it be Common Sense or Roto Grinders or HQ or SaberSim, whatever, they're jamming in like all this Ramondre Stevenson, right? And it makes sense, right? He's the only running back. Something, I don't know if people have talked too much about it, but forget the other injury reports aside, they're also lost like two offensive linemen for today. I mean, they have like literally no offensive line today. This is a nasty spot for New England against the
Kind of
Buffalo
shocking that
defense.
they're only 3.5-point dogs.
I know. But I'm just saying that it happens to be a pretty nasty spot.
Mhm.
So I'm a little nervous to play too much Ramondre Stevenson, if you want to know the truth. But
What's the nerve? Because I don't see how he doesn't get all the work. You know what I
well,
mean? He hasn't had one down game this season since he in this role where you wouldn't take his production because like even if he puts up like 14 fantasy points or 12 fantasy points, that's probably still one of the top 6 players and it's probably the top score for New England most of the time.
that could be okay. All right, I just figured I would.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm glad I brought it up to you. I mean,
Yeah.
but it is, it is a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that I am going to be, and this was more. This is not exactly what I thought I was going to do. I think I am going to end up with probably more Buffalo stacks than New England. You know what I mean? I'm going to have I was going to go like kind of more balanced and expose myself to more New England stuff. I think it's going to be rougher for New England than I first might have thought. So we'll see exactly where my builds take me.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the running backs for New England? Did you do any homework on this at all?
I did, but I don't know what's going to happen. It depends on whether at least with Taylor, like at least they showed him that they would give him the ball sometimes. The other two guys, I feel like you're just basically picking out of a hat on which ones you're going to want to go with. If I had to guess, Kevin Harris maybe, but I don't know. Like, I mean, it really depends on what they do with, and my guess is they would bring up Taylor. So that's where I'm at, but one of these guys, I mean, they are sort of all in play, as you said, like, but I don't, it's hard for me to separate them. And then also like, even from a guy like Khalil Shakir for Buffalo, isn't that kind of a better play anyway? Like,
well, what I was going to say is that Shakir is might be a better play. And also from the same team, maybe Tyquan Thornton's a better play.
And yeah, he's just a tiny bit more.
Right.
Yeah, the only problem with Thornton now is he's like their 5th or 6th receiver. So you got him behind Bourne, Aguilar, Parker, and Jacoby Myers.
Okay, fair enough.
So he may not see the field. That's my only fear with him. That's a pretty big fear.
He's young, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, who's he going to play over though? Because he hasn't been playing over any of these other guys.
Okay.
When he had a game earlier in the season, you had 3 of these guys out, I think.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So, I mean, sure, he's in the mix because of his price. The way I was trying to do it is, as I always try to do, is to try to find a different captain, you know what I mean, than the obvious guys, because you're going to get pretty massive chalk on the Josh Allen, Ramondre Stevenson, Stephon Diggs at captain. So basically, like anybody else, at least gets you somewhat different. And I like Gabe Davis, huge upside in general. So he would be a guy I would feel comfortable going with. And then the one who I don't think anyone's going to play, but it's actually the best positional matchup is, I mean, they won't play him at captain; they'll play him separately. But is Dawson Knox, who the worst part of the New England defense would be what they allow a lot to tight ends over the middle. So why not take a shot with those two guys as my captains? I put it in the Discord as those are my current captains in my 2 lineups my 2 main lineups. I'll whittle some other things in there, but I like the idea of just going with the super low owned guys here. And even if, I mean, we've seen it now several times with Josh Allen, even when the team scores and puts up numbers, it's not like he has to have so much better of a game than everybody else. And you get obviously massive savings on these other guys. Like, I mean, a couple weeks ago at Cleveland, you know what I mean? He put up 12 fantasy points. And I look, more likely than not, Josh Allen's in the 20s. And I'll play Josh Allen in all my lineups, but I'm just trying to avoid captaining him, even though it's obviously the logical thing to do. And if you're playing single entries, you probably do want to captain him. But I like the idea of mixing in Davis and Knox, especially. Davis being my preferred one, Knox being he has the best positional advantage, and I can talk myself into it with that, even though he hasn't had many great games. But he also doesn't, at his price, he doesn't need to be the highest scoring player on the slate. Whereas I think the odds are very slim of that happening. But Gabe Davis being the highest scoring player on this slate, I don't think that's that slim.
No.
So I actually think that would be my favorite one because you're getting probably around 5% ownership, and I think that's good enough for me to play Gabe Davis there.
Yeah.
And the word is that, to answer some of the comments that people are saying in chat, the word is that Myers is good to go. So everybody is a little bit less interesting on the New England passing side. It's a big game for them, so I imagine they're going to try and get him out there as much as they can. But I don't mind taking shots on those New England receivers because they sort of like take turns having games. These guys, they don't really all have them at the same time ever because Mac Jones isn't that good. But yeah, I'd be mixing in some Aguilar, some Parker, some Bourne on the cheap end. And then Thornton, if you're really desperate for savings, would be a little bit below those guys for me.
But like you said, you don't really need to be desperate for savings because you could play Shakir,
Right. And Shakir is a legitimate, like,
he's on the field. I mean, like,
yeah, he at least plays sometimes. Like, gives him a huge advantage.
Every once in a while is in the football game. Okay.
Yeah. And I've got 5-1s with Shakir in the lineup with just Ramondre on the other side. I think that's totally reasonable. So that's what I'm doing. And then the other way you can get a little different is skip Stevenson and play the passing game because of the game, potential game script, to play the passing game with, Mac Jones and two of these receivers, whether it be Myers, Parker, Bourne, Aguilar, all of those guys I'd be mixing around. And I actually like the idea of if you're going to play the passing game and skip Ramondre, to play the Bills defense. Even at a high
like
place.
that.
So I think I'm leaving some money on the table in those two, just trying to find ways to, as usual, just to get a little bit off the norm, off the chalk. That's what I'm focusing on. So it's a small thing. You're still going to end up tying probably if you get there, but I do like mixing these guys in. And I should just point out that even though he's going to have some ownership tonight, it's weird. Who do you think has won people the most showdowns? I swear Isaiah McKenzie, going back years now, feels like he's always on the winning lineup for showdowns, and sometimes in those cases he was like unowned and cost.
I will say this, he was legitimately the best receiver on the field on Thanksgiving.
Absolutely he was. He's made for these tiny slates. I don't know how he does it all the time, but he certainly does it. Aguilar, Davis, that works for that.
Myers, Singletary. What are you doing with the? You doing anything with the running backs?
I don't have
Buffalo?
Like Singletary's fine, sure. I kind of like. I mean, I still think James Cook has a lot of upside, so I think that he would be the next one for me. But it seems like at some point they would get Hines involved. So yeah. I think they're all in play, but I have it just basically a chalk: Singletary, then Cook, then Hines. But I don't think that you necessarily need to play any of them. Let me just see where Singletary is going to be. Yeah, Singletary will be pretty popular. I do think Cook just in the flex is kind of an interesting play, right? Like he's not going to be owned. And we saw, he's 1 week removed from having 11 carries, which is if he had that last week, he would be like 40% owned. Instead, he's 11% owned or 12% owned tonight. Yeah. Hey, nice job, MJ. He took down the small fadeaway for the night thing, thanks to Ayton. Good job, man.
Oh, nice.
Really, really bad by me that my take of my original build, I still have the list right here, is play one Sun. Play one of Booker, Ayton, or Payne, and I played none of them. And Booker, of course, had 50 real life points in 3 quarters, and Jandre Ayton, I believe, had 50 something fantasy points. So that was a little bit of a bummer.
I was a little bummed that I didn't get a better game of Ja. I just kind of was.
Yeah, and he played the time. Like at least you don't have the excuse we had for the blowout in Sacramento. Boy, it was looking good early on. I mean, with 5 minutes into the game, I think there was 13.5 fantasy points for Halliburton and 25 for Sabonis. I was already cashing in the thing, and I was looking pretty good. And then they just foul trouble for Sabonis on some weird calls, and they just kept rolling them with the bench unit. So that was really frustrating. And also I was very tilted because I was 1 minute late on trying to switch my Zach Collins to to Mitch Rob, which was my fault because I had it in my head that Mitch Rob, for some reason, I thought the game was starting at 8 Eastern, and it was just a mistake. Stupid. I knew the game was in New York. And of course that alone would have put me, you know, what I'm happy it didn't happen, Sheets, because it would have put me in like a really high position with no game at all, basically from Sabonis and Halliburton, a combined like 50 something, where it could have been 100. And I just get a normal game out of those guys. I'd be talking about how I could have won $1 million. So at least I didn't get the Mitch Rob switch in time, because it just would have been torture for me the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And everybody who's knocking the Zach Collins play, I just want to point out that Zach Collins was on basically every winning lineup in last night, including the millionaire lineup. I didn't like the play either, and it wasn't like he was great. The Mitch Rob was the obvious same price pivot, but anyway, it was fun for a minute to think about having a sweat. It didn't quite get there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing probably more than I should of this, but I'm gonna be I'm gonna get some of that Bills in the captain.
The Bills in the, I think that's interesting.
Yeah,
I actually like that. It's interesting for the Bills. Like, it's funny because it seems wrong to put like defenses, and yeah, the upside isn't the same, but just in terms of average points scored, I don't know about, like, wasn't able to captain them because they're a little bit expensive, but they score like more points than all of these New England receivers do on average. You know what I mean? Other than Myers, they outscore every one of them.
And they outscore them when they outscore them. You know what I mean? Like, like you get that leverage right against them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and they've got 3 games over 14 fantasy points this year, and this is a good candidate for that kind of a game.
And they get you, like, I'm looking at some of these lineups. I mean, if you put them in the captain, like, you can get some other stuff. You know, you can get stuff that you wouldn't be able to get to otherwise, which is actually pretty interesting. So we'll just see how it turns out. But I guess, as I mentioned to everybody before, I'm probably not. But if I'm around for Sunday Live, I will be. I'll be there. But I want to give everybody kind of a heads up. I posted this in the Discord. It's kind of goes without too much fanfare. But we try to put like different types of takes and different bits of content. We're trying to figure out like the mix between how much time people want to spend on it, whatever. So we put up our NFL preview shows, and we usually kind of go through the games like pretty fast or whatever it is. And I don't have that much time myself to go through other stuff, but I actually spent the time to listen to Goldie's kind of deep dive today for this weekend. I mean, he does a lot of work, man.
I would check out Goldie's stuff, guys. Yeah. I agree with you about that, Sheets.
Yeah, I mean, he it's listen, I don't know what the sweet spot is between like drilling down into every freaking player for 9 hours or doing a top down view of the slate for 6 minutes. Like, somewhere in the middle it depends on how much time you want to spend on it. But I will just say this, that if you do have like an hour and 10 minutes to get through it all, I mean, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, play it in the background while you're building early lineups and stuff.
Yeah, I
think that's right. And we're trying to offer little bits of everything. You know what I mean? You see the things. We tell everybody exactly who we're playing. That the week you almost won the millionaire, you pretty much just said exactly what was happening, and that was what happened. Anyway, I do want to give a heads up tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to be able to record it because I have to leave pretty early in the morning, and then I've got my kid. But I will be back for live, and I will talk about everything that I'm doing on tomorrow's slate. I just won't be able to do it in the morning, probably.
Is it a big slate tomorrow?
Yeah. You know how the NBA is going these days. I actually didn't even check on how many games, but it's pretty standard. Their normal.
Well, if there's only one today, I'm sure there's going to be a million tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's like 13 or 12. Like, it's a lot.
Well, I'll be counting on you to like either put a 5 and 5 or something up there, because I'm not going to have time to kind of look myself. And
I'll try. I can commit to the live. It just depends on how early I can get back from my kid.
So and again, I'm going to do my best to get projections up tomorrow. We'll just see how it goes. I mean, I usually will, but we'll just see.
And we, like we said, we do have you do have Saber Sim there for you if you can't get the Sheets' stuff. And Goldie for football, obviously, too.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I threw in one lineup just for sort of fun on basketball. Do you have any?
I did. Dude, are you kidding me? This is like
This is like your favorite
if
thing.
they're running them out there, I mean, I'm playing it. Nothing particularly like earth-shattering. I'm playing. Luka Doncic looks like a good play.
Do you think
He
he'll be
scores-
popular?
He scores a lot of fantasy points, and you know what? You can put him in the captain and get 1.5 times the points. That sounds like a good start, right?
So is there a way not to use him as captain? Like,
Yeah, sure, why not?
Probably the
I mean,
hardest
I
place.
no, I got some without him. I mean,
It's just
sure.
trying to justify it is almost like impossible.
Well, you know, listen, this is United States. I mean, the United States of America. All these soldiers died like over the years so that we don't have to justify anything. You know what I mean? Like we could just, I could play. I have one with Hardaway in the captain. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, and we'll just see. We'll just see. I played a grand total of maybe 2 NBA showdown slates in my life. So we're gonna see. One of them I did actually pretty well by accident. So hopefully we get another accident today.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But the one thing I don't think is necessary, by the way. And by the way, I do think this is going to be pretty. I think people are going to play this thing because again, it's like the only NBA game. I think people are going to do it. I think it's going to be a pretty big turnout for this thing. Actually, I mean they're offering 50,000 for first. I'm not, and again I got to get used to this. I'm not intentionally leaving money on the table tonight. And usually in showdown you're kind of supposed to do that, but this basketball it's rough. It's rough to beat the projections in basketball by that much, you know. So I'm not going to leave any money on the table. I'm just kind of hoping that Sabersim does enough of a job to kind of just like shuffle my guys around enough to make them sort of different, I guess. And nothing really. So I'm just basically relying on the projection of Sabersim, running some stuff, and just hoping I get lucky. So if you want to know the truth.
If you're not playing Luke at captain, who are you playing in those lineups?
Well, I told you. So I have Hardaway in one.
Oh, okay.
I have Christian Wood in like most of the others, and then Dinwiddie in the others.
Yeah, I think Wood would be my next favorite, I guess. The thing is, like, one of these guys has to score at least half as many points as Luka, and that there may not be anybody who scores half as many fantasy points as Luka.
The salary saver that makes the whole thing work today is Dwight Powell.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how like own guys like that turn out. I imagine it'll be huge chalk. I mean, like that because that makes everything else work, right?
Yeah, and I think at only a slightly higher price, you have Kleba, so I have no problem just doing that instead.
I like Duran. I like him. But just something to do. Hopefully Jaden Ivey's Q tag just takes him right up until game time. People get afraid and don't play him. I'm not betting on it though.
Yeah, I've got him in my lineups. I just threw another one in. Yeah. But yeah, I think Christian Wood, I guess, is the most logical outside of Luka.
Yeah.
But it's really hard, man, because it's really, really hard not to get the 1.5 for Luka and figure out a way.
I know.
Like you need Luka to get like 60 and Christian Wood to get like 48 or something like that.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get going. Mrs. Sheets and I are going to grab some food.
Great.
And you want me to keep this up?
Have a safe. No, it's all right. I'll get out of here. Sheets, have a safe flight, and good luck, everybody.
Yep. All right. Talk to you later. Yes, we did. Banks. Just rewind, and then you'll get the answer.